I swear this is probably my favorite part of this entire book, is how dreamy she is. If you're the kind of person to read an entire book after seeing a quote on Book Talk just because it inspired you just a little bit, then this video is made for you. I've been annotating my books for I think 2 years now, and every time I forget to re-annotate them, and now I did it for this book because I absolutely love it, and I was like, I could actually make a video out of it. There will be no major spoilers. This video is just here to give you some teeny tiny spoilers to make you want to read the book. There will be a name for each part that I'm going to talk about, each theme that I'm going to talk about, each quotes that I'm going to talk about. So if you see one theme that doesn't seem like you really want to know about it and you want to keep some secrecy around this, then you can skip this part and go to the next one. There should be no spoilers. You should still be able to enjoy the book after I talk about it. The first book that I really wanted to annotate was The Invisible Life of Addie. This is one of my favorite books because I related so much to the main character. So basically, it's the story of a girl who is immortal but is forgotten by everyone. And that's the sentence that I read and that made me want to read the book, because I was so curious. How could this girl who's forgotten by everyone can live this life? How is she going through the world? Like, I was so curious to learn about this, and I think this would be the first reason why you should read this book. And there's a second that might make you want to read the book. It is that in 2013, so 300 years after she started being immortal, she meets someone who's going to remember her. Don't hope 100% on the love story, because that's not the center of the book. To me, I think if you want to enjoy this book, you have to read it for Addie's experience and try to understand her way of life. I know that most of my friends, or most of the reviews that I saw of people who didn't like it, it's because they thought that the love story was kind of boring and not enough or not that special. I'd say for me it was really special because it was so sweet and so beautiful. But don't put all your hopes on this. Also, if you're a dreamer, this book is 100% for you, especially if you're a girl dreamer, or dreamer girl. I don't know in which order to put those words, but it is not a very active book, but you see so much about Addie's experience. She's a character that is so passionate and who loves the world, who loves people. She's curious, she's creative, she has so much for her, and I think who she is and the fact that she is a dreamer is what is going to help her survive through the entire book. To give you a little bit of context around her mortality, Addie is forced to be married, and she's going to pray at night, and instead of a god replying, it is going to be a demon. Or at least he's not called a demon through the book, he's more called of a shadow, but there was something to him that made him human, even though he was like a shadow or something from another word or with a higher power. Let's now dig into the quotes of the book. There is this one very famous quote that if you saw this book on Book Talk, you probably have heard of it. It is, "What is a person if not the marks they leave behind?" And through the entire book, you're going to see how Addie is trying to leave a mark through art in so many ways, like sculptures, paintings, music. And it made me think actually about something. There's this guy in my class who once said, "I couldn't be friend with a gay man." I was like, okay. But I think it really made me think of this book because I feel like saying this about a group of people is a way to erase them. I don't know if you see what I mean, but we exist through each other. If you're capable of existing, it's because people remember you, because people see you, because people love you, because people spend time with you. You are going to have an imprint on the people around you. And it's the same way the other way around. It is a way to erase them. It is a way to not recognize them. But apart from that, the only thing that is going to connect all those arts is her several freckles on her cheeks. Through her anonymity, she still left a mark somehow. I just wanted to make this little parenthesis of how Addie, the older she gets, the more she grows teeth. That's kind of a word they use at some point. I can't find it back, but she is really growing teeth and she's ready to bite back when the shadow is using her or anything like this. You have this moment where she talks with the shadow and this is the conversation. "What is your name?" His eyes slide from a corner of the room back to her. "Why must I have one?" "All things have names," she says. "Names have purpose, names have power." She tips her glass his way. "You know that, or else you wouldn't have stolen mine." A smile tugs at the corner of his mouth, wolfish, amused. "If it's true," he says, "that names have power, then why would I hand you mine?" "Because I must call you something, to your face and in my head, and right now I have only curses." Through the entire book, it's going to be this kind of dance between the shadow and Addie of her still trying to go through the limits of her deal, trying to leave a mark anyway, and trying to still discover things and make her life beautiful. And him trying to, in a very clever way, get her soul because that's what he wants. But in front of her is a woman that is really not ready to give that away and ready to fight for it. So he has to do it in a very clever way. And this entire relationship and situation is so interesting to look at, to see how each of them are going to get what they want. I just love the sort of chemistry, even though I'm not like shipping them. I really love this sort of chemistry and dance between the two of them. Let's move on to the next point. One of my favorite character through the entire book is Estele. Estele is this woman in the village who kind of raised Addie to be this very independent woman and creative woman and thoughtful woman. She kind of looks like a witch. I love how she's described. And she has a connection to the earth, to nature in general, and she talks about how she's connected to old gods. I think we can kind of relate that to paganism and gods that were really related to nature before Christianity and before stuff like this. There are some sentences that I really want to read to you. They describe her so well. Estele, who belongs to everyone and no one and herself. Estele, who grew like a tree at the heart of the village by the river and has certainly never been young. I love this description because so many times being old with being a woman, when you put those together, it is seen as something negative. I think when they say she's never been young, it's because she's always been wise, she's always been thoughtful, she's always been trying to discover things. And I think that is what is making her absolutely beautiful. And it's her age that actually makes her beauty because it's her wisdom. I love that women are represented as beautiful and clever and old and powerful. It gives so much power to a woman who has aged to just like erase this shame we have on women aging. One thing that is said a lot is how much through time women's value has been given away to serve men for history. And there's this sentence that I really loved. Let me read you this. Adeline has decided she would rather be a tree, like Estelle. If she must grow roots, she would rather be left to flourish wild instead of pruned, would rather stand alone, allowed to grow beneath the open sky. Better that than firewood, cut down just to burn in someone else's earth. This is how much I see how we take women's value and give it to the service of a man. Through history, it has been like this. She was always the wife of someone, sister of someone, the daughter of someone, and she was here to serve, to give birth, to raise those children. And we forgot about their values. The warmth that this firewood is capable of giving is going to be in someone else's earth, and this value is not going to help this tree grow. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying right now, but it's really how I saw that. Another theme that I really loved is how much girls are asked to stop dreaming when they grow up. Again, Adeline is a dreamer, and she created her stranger. She decided that she would not lower her standards for the guy in her village, so she drew this stranger in her book that was supposed to be hers. It was her stranger, her perfect man. She was like kind of manifesting in a way. And I love that she didn't lower her standards for men in real life just to be with someone. She just respected herself so much and her knowledge and who she was. And she talks about how she dreams about him, how she imagines him. And after that, there's this moment of realization of how her dreaming of this stranger is becoming less and less accepted in her village. There was no danger in it, no reproach. Not when she was young. All girls are prone to dreaming. She will grow out of it, her parents say. But instead, Adeline feels herself growing in, holding tighter to stubborn hope of something more. And suddenly, the charcoal beneath her nail is unbecoming, as is the idea that she would choose her own company over Arnold's or George's or any man who might have her. It's more intense for women, but I think it also happened for men, where we're asked when we grow up to stop dreaming, and it kind of makes me sad. I'm like, why? And I think that's what makes artists. Artists keep dreaming and decide to make dream their lives. And I also think the fact that she's a dreamer that much is what is going to help her survive through the entire book, honestly. It makes dreamer so much more powerful. Another thing that I loved about this book is how it was not just feminism for women, it was feminism for men too. Henry is a sensitive man, and we see how he's going to struggle with this through the book. Let me read you the introduction of his chapter. A boy is born with a broken heart. The doctors go in and piece it back together, make it whole, and the baby is sent home, lucky to be alive. But something isn't right. They've left his heart too open, forgotten to close back up the armor of his chest. And now he feels too much. Other people would call him sensitive, but it is more than that. The dial is broken, the volume turned all the way up. Moments of joy registered as brief, but ecstatic. Moments of pain stretched long and unbearably loud. When his first dog dies, Henry cries for a week. When they have to dissect a pig in class, when he loses the cutter his grandfather gave him before he passed, when he finds Liz cheating on him during his senior trip, every time, no matter how small or how big, it feels like his heart is breaking again inside his chest. His heart has a draft. It lets in light, it lets in storms, it lets in everything. It is also part of feminism to give the men the chance to exist for those who are not represented the way they feel, because not all men are like super strong and not ready to expose their emotions. Some men need this time, and it is such a beautiful character. And honestly, I really hope you also discover his experience, because even though it's smaller than Addie's, it still matters. Another point that I really loved about Henry and I really connected with is that he wants to do so many things that he's lost. It's not that he does not know what to do in life, even though that's what his parents think. It's just that he wants to do too much and he doesn't know where to start. And he feels like if he starts one thing, it means letting go of all the other things. And I recognize so much in this. Let me read you some of this. Time moves so fucking fast. Blink and you're halfway through school, paralyzed by the idea that whatever you choose to do, it means choosing not to do 100 other things. Blink and you're 24 and you travel through Europe hoping that the change will spark something in you, that a glimpse of the greater, grander world will bring your own into focus. And for a little while, it does. But there's no job, no future, only an interlude, and when it's over, your bank account is dry and you're not any closer to anything. Blink and you're 26 and you're called into the dean's office because he can tell that your heart's not in it anymore. And he advises you to find another path, and he assures you that you'll find your calling. But that's the whole problem. You've never felt called to any one thing. There's no violent push in one direction, but a softer nudge in 100 different ways. And now, all of them feel out of reach. Blink and you're 28 and everyone else is now a mile down the road and you're still trying to find it. And the irony is hardly lost on you that in wanting to live, to learn, to find yourself, you've gotten lost. I love it so much. I relate so much to this. But I think that this character brings so much to the world and he's beautiful. And I really hope that learning more about him makes you want to read this book, because honestly, like, he's the sweetest on earth. I would say if you're a girl and you're a dreamer, this book is so much made for you. Like, really, it's made for you. Honestly, I really hope all those quotes and ideas and themes made you want to read this book. If you're like kind of recognizing yourself in Henry, I would recommend you to read it so much, because it gives you another vision to how to be a man. Even though there's no guide, there's as many ways to be a man as there is men on this earth. But the fact that they show in this book another version of men who are sensitive and have difficulties with their feelings and feel a lot of things and express a lot of the feelings and might cry more than other boys, I'm like, we need more representations like this. We need healthy representation for men too. Of course, there's so much more to feminism today. As a white woman, she cannot speak for other feminists who might have more difficulties because of their origins or because of disabilities or because of their bodies and stuff like this. And I think she was able to bring her stone to feminism with her experience and without stepping on other women's voices. Again, if you're a dreamer, I would recommend this book 100%. I actually don't know how to end this video, but I hope you enjoyed it and made you want to read the book. And if you have read it or might want to read it, don't hesitate to tell me in the comments, because when I tell you it's my favorite book, I'm not kidding. So if you want to talk about it in the comments, I am here. And even if you didn't like it, I'm here to debate and I can hear all point of views. There's no problem, even though like that's my favorite book, so you're probably never going to change my mind, but I'm okay with listening to you. Anyway, I wish you a great week, and I guess I'll see you next week, as usual. Goodbye!